Two-way takes, and how appropriate that on this day, our 12th episode, also happens to be the anniversary of the day that Tom Brady, the greatest number 12 in sports history, made his debut in the regular season for the Pats due to Mo Lewis's hit on Drew Bledsoe. Welcome to Two-Way Takes. Welcome, everybody, to Two-Way Takes, episode number 12, coming at you guys hot right now. Like we said in the intro, how appropriate, man. Number 12, episode number 12, on the same day that the most famous number 12 in sports history got his shot due to an absolute thunderous hit on Drew Bledsoe of the New England Patriots. I love Drew. Love you, Drew, but that hit was probably the best thing that ever happened to the Patriots franchise, to be perfectly honest. And it altered the NFL trajectory, the history of the NFL forever. So what a day. How serendipitous that today our NFL overreaction episode, early season overreactions, comes on the day where I'm going to overreact the shit over the fact that it's episode number 12 on day of 12. It's just a lot of stuff going on. Producer Mitch in the house. He's back. How you doing, buddy?
I didn't go anywhere, bro.
Oh,
I'm back.
Well, I know, but I meant like back, like, you know, back behind the deck, back in action. I'm gonna sip my Canada Dry since 1904. Not a sponsor, but you're welcome for the free plug.
You can see right through it because of the green screen.
Oh, really? Yeah. So it just looks like I'm drinking air.
You can see like the logo.
It's phenomenal. Oh, what a way to start the show. What a way to start the show. Oh man. Okay. So week 3 of the NFL coming up. This is all about NFL early season overreactions. We're going to overreact about everything that happened in the first 2 weeks, everything that may or may not happen in week 3. All football, running through it. So let's not waste any time. Overreaction number one. Tom Brady will win the MVP this year. He will win the MVP this year. Absolutely unheard of. The man's 44 years old, but he's got an arsenal of weapons, a very good offensive line. That defense, for me, jury's still out on the defense, but you could argue that actually helps his case because it's not going to keep them from being in any blowout games. Like, that front seven is really, really good on paper, but then, like, guys like Ndamukong Suh on that front seven, they're aging a little bit, so you don't know if they're going to stay healthy all year. You don't know if their name power is kind of carrying that, you know, that kind of overrated aspect of the front seven a little bit. But regardless, I think it's actually kind of good if that defense isn't as good as possibly advertised, because it's going to keep games a little closer. It's going to keep Tom dropping back and throwing more instead of handing the ball off to Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette and, you know, the 5,000 running backs, like former first-round pick running backs that they have in that backfield, which will, you know, pseudo-inflate his numbers a little more. But in all honesty, man, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions through the first couple games, 655 yards. It doesn't seem like this guy has really slowed down yet. He's got all the weapons in the world around him. You know, I know AB just got activated to the COVID list, but you still got Godwin there. Gronk is still not being asked to play a big role and is still making great catches. Evans obviously over there. The stable of running backs that they have. There's plenty of ammunition and weapons around him to continue to be successful. And if you look at the team slate that they have coming up, right, their next games, this week against the Rams, which will be a real litmus test for them. Then you got the Pats, Dolphins, Eagles, and Bears, okay? You got 2 very weak NFC teams, a pretty helter-skelter Dolphins team, the Pats, who on paper just aren't a match for them. The Rams are really the only game of the upcoming next 5 that you look at and say, you know, they could drop it. Maybe they drop this game. But, you know, all things considered, this team could be 7-0. This team could be 7-0 going into November, which is wild. And then I think they got the Saints on Halloween, on that Sunday. So 7-0, 8-0 is not out of the realm of possibility at all. And if they are undefeated at that point in the season and Tom is just playing typical Tom stuff, impossible to not have him somewhere in the top 3 of your MVP race. So, right, that's overreaction number 1. Tom wins MVP. Overreaction number 2. Kyler Murray is the best quarterback under the age of 25 in the league, and it's not even close. This overreaction, this was almost Kyler Murray is a top 3 quarterback in the league, but that seemed a little bit of a gross overreaction, a bit of a gross, reined it in a little bit. Easily, in my mind, best quarterback under the age of 25, in my opinion. 9 touchdowns in the first 2 games, extremely good versatility, running the football, very quick feet in the pocket. He's got a really strong arm. The only knock on him is he's undersized. You know, he's a little undersized, yeah, for sure. But he's fleet of foot like a Lamar Jackson, but a much better passer, much more composed in the pocket. He's got weapons there. You know, you got D-Hop over there. Rondale Moore has shown to be a legitimate target, a legitimate rising rookie target for him in that Arizona offense. A.J. Green down in the red zone, he's a guy who can still catch a ball. You know, they're not asking a whole lot of him. Still can run a decent route, still a good target in the end zone. And not for like a decent running attack. You know, Chase Edmonds in the backfield he can have a game or two. So weapons around him. And just the fact 9 touchdowns in his first 2 games, 2 of them by way of scrambling into the end zone, there's a lot to like. A lot to like about this kid. I do think as well, playing in the NFC West in a very competitive, very tough division, I think makes the case even more for him. If he can keep this up and, win some of those games, go out and, beat Seattle and beat the Rams and all that, and like really compete within the division, I think you have to start talking about him as an elite level quarterback. I'm just saying it's overreaction week, so I mean let's go there. Let's go there. If he can go on the road in some of these interdivision games and win and be effective and be as dynamic as he is and lead this team, the kid's got all the tools. He's got all the Drew Brees was tiny. Drew Brees was a tiny shit too in New Orleans and San Diego before that. That guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and up until 2 weeks from now will be the all-time passing yards leader in the NFL. So, size doesn't always matter. Sometimes it's all about the motion of the ocean. Anywho. Overreaction number 3. Overreaction number 3 here on our NFL Overreaction Week. And this one, I hated typing this up.
I don't really super agree with this one though.
I'm
gonna comment on it in just a second. Go ahead. There you go. Drinking the invisible soda.
Canada Dry. We need them as a sponsor. Pained me to type this, but it is what it is, man. Trevor Lawrence will be ruined by Jacksonville. Will be ruined in Jacksonville. I should specify because there's a very specific reason I said in Jacksonville and not by Jacksonville. Very specific reason. Number 1 is I think that the pedestal he was put on coming in was too high relative to how stacked those Clemson teams were, that I think, not that he's not a great quarterback, a great prospect, but I think that how he was labeled as a prospect coming out of college, I know he had multiple Heisman years and all that, but I think playing on such a powerhouse Clemson team, it's just like the Alabama quarterback thing, playing on a team that was so powerful and so well put together in college definitely elevates and raises your perspective ceiling, in my opinion, compared and relative to what your actual skill set may be. You know what I mean? I think there was a little, I'm not saying the guy is like a flop. I'm not saying he's a bust yet or anything like that. Well, I guess I kind of am saying he'll be ruined in Jacksonville. But I think a combination of him being a little overrated and people just expecting too much, plus the first year of Urban Meyer, plus Jacksonville just does not have the weapons. Like that team does not have the weapons. It doesn't have the weapons. It doesn't have a legitimate running game. You know what I mean? It sucks because with Etienne out for the year now, You're putting a lot of the load on Robinson, and Robinson he's not a bell cow back, so the running game, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist in Jacksonville. Your primary receiver, like your go-to stud receiver, is DJ Chark. Good player, good receiver. Like, I like DJ Chark, but is he a guy who, like, you look at the play last week in Denver, right? One of Lawrence's picks where he threw it down the sideline, a 50-50 ball. I'm pretty sure it was Chark. Who he ended up getting picked off by Patrick Surtain. That play, in my opinion, an elite, like someone like a DeAndre Hopkins, either catches that ball or knocks it away and prevents it from getting intercepted. I think that's the gap between the DJ Charks of the world and the Devontae Adamses and DeAndre Hopkins and those types of, even a guy like A.J. Brown or Julio Jones out in Tennessee. So I don't think he's got enough weapons there either. Plus he's got it. He's just gonna, by way of kind of the ripple effect of Urban Meyer's growing pains, being a first-year NFL head coach, I think the culmination of all those things is going to ruin him. He's going to be ruined in Jacksonville. Now, I'm not saying by Jacksonville, because I don't think Jacksonville's as inept of an organization as someone like the Jets, right? Because there are serviceable pieces on it. The Jets were, and for all intents and purposes, are a dumpster fire. Jacksonville, I would not call a dumpster fire. They just haven't really gotten over that hump. Like, they have pieces. It's just not enough to really make them a competitor, and it's tough. I think he ends up kind of like Sam Darnold, eventually moving teams after his rookie deal.
Yeah, I think a good way to equate what's going to happen with T-Law, I think, is you made the distinction. He's going to be ruined in Jacksonville, not by Jacksonville. Like you said, the Jets are also a good example of that. Was RG3, he got ruined by the Washington football.
He was right.
They completely overutilized him as a dual threat quarterback, and then he got injured twice for it, and he's out. Like, his career's done now. That's an organization that ruined their star quarterback, and he was absolutely slated to be a star quarterback. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, that first year he had insane numbers early on when they tried. Like, that one year he went off in Washington. I don't think that. So what's concerning about Trevor Lawrence, right? What's concerning about this is I went back and watched the tape of his interceptions that he threw in week 1 and week 2, particularly in the Houston game. These were terrible throws. Absolutely awful, man. Absolutely. Like, it's not like he threw. It's not like he threw a dart and it went off DJ Chark's chest, popped into the air, and got picked off. The first one was a little bootleg thrown across but he broke containment out of the pocket, right? Kind of like that little bootleg threw across his body and just totally overthrew, I think it was Marvin Jones on that one. I think he overthrew just right into the safety's hands, right? And the others were just terrible decisions. They were either miscommunicated, just awful, bad throws, man. The other thing I noticed is, and this was more highlighted in the Denver game, was he can't throw an out route. He can't throw that 12 to 15 yard out route. Like, that's it's the type of routes that you see Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, just bread and butter to the sidelines. You know what I mean? Like, he can't throw them, man. He's either overthrowing them or leading them way too far and it's going out of bounds. Just very, very bad. Those are killers, because when you're running a 2-minute offense in the end of the game, you need to have that throw in your arsenal. You know what I mean? 2nd and 7, 3rd and 7, you need to keep moving the sticks, but also stop the clock. You need to use the sidelines. This kid, like, it was bad. Go back, like, for those of you guys watching, go back and watch some of the highlights of the Denver game. It was tough. It was really tough to watch, and clean pockets. It's not like he was under duress for a lot of these. I think that's what's even more concerning, is a lot of these throws where he's just missing, he's in a relatively clean pocket. I'll put it this way. He's in the type of pocket that you would think a first overall pick with as much hype as him should be able to thrive no problem in. That's the type of pocket. I think that's the best distinction to make with that. So, concern, because honestly, I was really excited to see T-Law come out, but man, it It was tough.
I'm going to put some of that blame on the offensive coordinator too, though. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback at the end of the day, coming in from a much different offense at Clemson, and I mean, I can't imagine that Jacksonville's offensive coordinator is going to be, working directly with him to ensure those kinds of plays where he's using the sidelines like that. That's more of I don't know. That's more of a sophomore year plus kind of call. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'll give it to him for now, but if it keeps happening, like it's it's going to be his mistake.
I can see that. Like now, if it's Trey Lance or Justin Fields we're talking about with that issue, I can give some slack for sure. But the number 1 overall pick with as much hype as he had, like not even like the unanimous number 1 overall pick, like the consensus no-brainer number 1 overall pick, those throws you got to make. Just my take, but
totally agree.
I'm a little out on T-Law right now. Bit out on him. Final overreaction. Our last overreaction. Yeah, I fucking love this one. The Patriots. They will win the AFC East. There, I said it.
That's so bold.
I said what I said. I've said what I said. The Patriots are gonna win the AFC East. Book it. Absolutely. But I wish I remembered exactly. I should have gone back and checked to see. When we did the NFL preseason episode, I wish I went back and saw what that line was. This team should be 2-0. Like it should be 2-0. If not for the Damian Harris fumble on like the 35 against Miami, we're kicking that field goal and winning that game. Like we win that game 19-17. Like that game we lost by 1 to Miami. We're driving. It's not on Mac at all. Mac did everything he was asked. He was efficient as shit in that game. And Damian Harris just coughs up the football on like the 35, 36 yard, whatever it was, it's like, it is. I'm not putting, I'm not out on Damian Harris by any means, but what I'm saying is, they were one bad fumble, bad break away from being 2-0, and on top of this division, the Bills don't look as impressive as I think a lot of people thought they would at the beginning of the year. Josh Allen, granted, Josh Allen might still be getting in the groove of things. The Dolphins don't look good. I know they beat us, but again, we're one play away from beating them. There's just no hope for the Jets. So I look at it as we beat the Jets again, we're beating the Dolphins the next time around, and we split with Buffalo. That puts us at 3. That puts us at 4-2, winning record on the division. We can string some other games together. So we'll own the tiebreaker with 2 out of the 3 teams, I believe. I don't know, and that's if we split with Buffalo. I honestly do think we can compete with Buffalo in both those games. So I'm going to say the Patriots are going to win the NFC East. I mean, Mac looks good. He looks poised in the pocket. He can throw the out route, Trevor Lawrence. The running game looks good. I know we just dogged the Damian Harris for essentially blowing the Dolphins game, but there are serviceable backs. Like Damian Harris can run the football. James White showed he can still be an effective carrier of the football. They play solid defense. That defense looked really good. They gave nightmares to Zach Wilson last week. Obviously, he's a rookie quarterback in the Jets, so you have to temper what they did in that game. But still, they did what they should have done to the Jets. They dismantled them as a defense. They absolutely dismantled them. That's what you should do. That's what they were expected to do, what you'd expect out of this defense, and they delivered. So you have to check the box there. I think the big measuring stick game is week 4, 2 weeks from now against the Bucs. It's emotions are going to be running high. Brady's probably going to break the passing record there. Oh my God, it's going to be such a fucking whirlwind of emotions. I'm already getting a little upset. Because you can't imagine that they're winning that game, but I think it would be a phenomenal measuring stick game. I really, really do. If they do pull an upset there, that would honestly be the stunner of the season. I think that would be the absolute stunner of the season up to that point if they pull that upset. But it's the type of game you really want to see how because Mac's going to have to come, he's going to have to score points. They're going to have to score. The Bucs are scoring on us, right? So that's the type of game where you're really going to need to see Mac in a spread offense, up-tempo, moving the football, how efficient he can be and whatnot, versus kind of, I feel like they've kind of held the reins on him a little bit. Only 1 touchdown in the first couple games, but you watch him, he's got the poise to make the throws in the pocket. He hasn't made any bad decisions. One of the interceptions he threw was right off of, I forget if it was Aguilar I think it was Aguilar's chest. It popped right up in the air, tipped off his hand. So I like the Pats. I like the Pats to win the AFC East. That's my last overreaction for right now. I like him, man. I like him to win the East. I'm not ashamed to say it at all.
Give me a quick score line on the Bucks Pats.
On the Bucks, Pat, we're going right. We're gonna skip right by the Saints.
Yeah, just a little quick prediction.
So okay, I could see that game being like, man, it's optimistically there. I don't see a ton of ways, unless the Bucks just have an off game. I think at best it's like a 34-20, 34-24 game. I think that's me being a little optimistic. I mean, I think the line should open up. The Bucks should open up like an 8-9 point favorite. I really can't see him. I can't see Vegas doing it any less. I mean, maybe they open up at 6.5. Because they're just giving the Pats a little respect because Belichick at home and he's gonna dial up whatever needs to be dialed up against Tom. I don't know.
I think that's a fair prediction.
But I think I don't see that line. I can't see that line opening up less than 8. I really don't. Like, I really do think that's an 8.5 line going into the week, assuming there's no big injuries or anything crazy happens this week. So it's tough to predict. But yeah, I mean, the recipe to win that game, I think, is you have to. It's got to be a low scoring. If you think the Pats are going to win, I think you slam the under. Because what they're going to have to do is just play super methodical, convert a lot of third downs, hand the ball off a shit ton to Stevenson and Harris and James White, play kind of a West Coast ball control, and just limit the possessions and just kind of like let the clock keep ticking, not give Tom a bunch of possessions to, be able to sit back there and cook with Godwin and Evans and, all of them and stuff. But I don't know. That's still 2 weeks away. Patriots gonna win the AFC East. Let's since we touched on some betting lines, though, why don't we move into our little segment here? Better Come Correct. Better Come Correct is brought to you by our friends at Rhode Island Sportsbook. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call the Problem Gambling Helpline, 1-877-9-GAMBLE, sponsored by the Rhode Island Lottery, available 24 hours a day to listen, to help, and provide information. RI Lottery, play responsibly. All right. Better Come Correct. I know you like that play on words if you're watching. Here's some lines that we love this week, okay? There's 2 specific lines that I absolutely love, and we're going to hand them over. And then we'll run through some other lines for this coming week, for this week, week 3. First line is Packers 49ers. Over-under is set at an even 50, and I would slam that under. I will be slamming that under. I don't think that under gets even close to hitting. I don't think it gets close. So, for a couple reasons, right? Aaron Jones coming off a 3-touchdown game for the Packers. I think they want to keep him a focal point of the offense. I don't think they want to, put a ton of wear and tear on Rodgers. I think they need to keep him healthy throughout the course of the year. And by the same token, keep Devontae Adams as healthy as possible. I think they're going to prioritize the running game and really, I think they're going to blow the doors off the Niners, to be perfectly honest. I mean, San Francisco has no backfield. They have no running back as of right now. I think last I heard, they were talking about calling up Kerryon Johnson from the practice squad to fill in. I mean, all their backs go down. Now, game flow-wise, the reason I think that's so important is not because obviously they have like a serviceable top-tier running back, but the next best thing that you can do if you don't have a bell cow running back, or if a bunch of your running backs go down with injury and you need a quick fix, you don't really have time to, call up someone like Kerryon Johnson. I think it's like Tredavian Austin or something ridiculous that they were calling. He used to play for Carolina, to come into the backfield. Obviously, those guys aren't going to be able to pick up a full slate of playbooks, blocking packages, and all this stuff to be, in 80% of the snaps type backs. This is, so I think the next best replacement to that is kind of a very safe, West Coast style offense where it's a lot of check downs. It's a lot of, little slip screens here and there, stuff that you can kind of implement real easy to, anyone who's been in the league for a while. And you play a lot of safe throws. You get back, you just kind of like check down to the running back, and that's your running game. You know what I mean? Instead of having a handoff and toss and like work all those nuances, little 2-3 step drops, look for quick slants, quick hitter plays, and you have a little swing route for the back, and that kind of becomes your running game. Your running game is essentially the check down passing game. Now, what that does, keeps the clock ticking, keeps the ball in play, clock ticking, limits possessions, right? And it kind of speeds the game up. It speeds the game up. Very similar to what we just talked about, speculating about the Pats and Bucks in week 4. I think this is one of those games. I think this is one of those games where the Niners are going to be chasing the game. I can't see. I mean, Brandon Ayuk's been invisible. I know Deebo Samuel's been great for them, but with no running game, it's tough to see the Packers not just, going into that game and doing anything except saying, all right, Deebo Samuel, you're not going to beat us. You know what I mean? Let's blanket him and make Jimmy G beat us everywhere else. Make George Kittle go 12 for 150 with a touchdown, and that's all the offense that they can generate. You know what I mean? So I kind of see it as the Packers control the ball. I mean, very few people are going to be as good as controlling the rock and just sort of making sure the ball's protected as Aaron Rodgers. He can make every throw. He can hand the rock to Aaron Jones 30 times and bleed that clock. Same thing on the other end. I think the under hits heavy. I think it's a firm underplay. I could totally see that game being like a 27-10, 27-17 type game, even like a 24-10, 24-13. I absolutely could see that type of game where the Packers are in like the mid-20s. Niners are like 10 to 17 point range. I can't see it. I can't see 50 points being scored in that game. I really don't. Given what I think the game flow would be like, I think you slam the under on that one. Line number 2 that I love is Seattle giving 1.5 to Minnesota. So 1.5, for all intents and purposes, is barely anything. 1.5, it might as well be an even money spread. It really is. So to win by 2, you got to win by a field goal, if that. So you put Russell Wilson, Mr. September himself, Mr. First half of the season, in a dome with perfect conditions in Minnesota against a Vikings team that at best, will have their most efficient offensive weapon at 75% and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had a terrible ankle sprain this week, and, everyone's just saying, he's going to play. They're basically going to trot him out onto the field with an ankle brace, not at 100%, which is kind of wild. But I don't like Minnesota in this game at all. I think Seattle has a pretty complete offense. I don't think DK Metcalf has had the, hey, remember I'm an absolute electric wide receiver type game yet. It's been all Tyler Lockett so far this year. It's just been Russell Wilson throwing moonshots down the field to him. I think this could be the type of game where DK Metcalf absolutely feasts. Chris Carson has looked really nice, really efficient. He can be great with the ball. And I think, Russ in a dome in perfect conditions, even on the road in Minnesota against a defense that hasn't looked phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination. I really like Seattle here. I like Seattle, and probably, something like, I could see them hanging 27 to 30 points on Minnesota. And Minnesota, let's say Cook or Madison runs one in. You get a couple touchdowns out of Cousins, 20. So I could see like a 27 to 30, maybe 21-24 from the Vikings. Like, I don't think it's much closer. I don't think it's any closer than 27-24. And even at that point, Seattle still covers. So I like that. I like Seattle. Seattle given 1.5 in Minnesota. I really like that line. I almost put this one down because I got the lines in front of me from the book right now, and I almost put this one down because I'm sneakily impressed at what Jared Goff has done with the Lions. All right, he's been sneakily effective. I know it's Detroit, but they're getting 8.5 at home against the Ravens. Now, do I expect Detroit to win this game? No, I do not. I think Baltimore should win, but kind of a similar situation as the Niners. Baltimore's thing, I mean, Lamar Jackson's the best rusher that they have on that team right now. All their running backs are hurt. They don't really have a stable bell cow back. Lamar Jackson's handling a lot of those carries. So you have one guy. All it takes is Lamar to have one so-so passing game, and this game becomes a lot closer. We're laying 8.5 points to the home team. It's a lot of points, dude. It's a lot of points. Like, say what you want about Jared Goff. He can sling the football. I mean, you saw what he did a couple weeks ago against San Fran, I believe. Rallying that comeback. Guy can throw the football. You know what I mean? Like, they can put up some points in a hurry. They were very close to sending that game to overtime. So, obviously, the Ravens, much better team than the Niners, in my opinion. But it's a sneaky spread, man. 8.5. I wouldn't be completely stunned if Detroit covered that. Even if it's something like a 24-20 game, even 24-17, they still cover at that. Like 8.5. That, you think about the game flow, right? Like, let's say the Ravens take a 17. I don't know. Let's say they take a 17-3 lead at halftime, right? They score once more and they're just bleeding the clock. So 24. What did I say? 17-3. So 24-3 at one point. Detroit rallies one drive, 24-10. The Ravens control the clock. Detroit gets one more lucky possession, 24-17. Like, you look game flow wise to cover 7 or to cover 8.5 rather. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a tough game for. It's tough giving 8.5 to any NFL team. So that would be the last team that I would really look at. I mean, you got other teams. I mean, you got the Jets getting 10.5 against Denver. I mean, that I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. The Bills giving 7.5 to Washington feels like a lot, but I mean, I think Washington was the biggest. I think they were a big pretender this offseason. I think they got way too much praise than what they deserved. Likewise, talking back, I know we talked about the under for the Packers-Niners game. I don't hate Green Bay getting 3. Green Bay is getting 3. That's absurd. Green Bay. I think the under and the Packers is an absolute play. I will probably parlay that with Seattle getting 1.5. That's probably lock it in. That's my parlay of the week. Packers +3 with hitting the under. And Seattle giving 1.5 to Minnesota. That's a 3-team parlay all day. You're going to get well above even money on that. That I imagine that would probably be like +450 on that parlay, +475, something like that. But that's our little better come correct segment. Hope you guys enjoy that. We'll definitely be diving into some more lines and keep a little running total. We're gonna have to archive this. We're gonna have to archive that parlay. Come back to it next week and see if that hits. But Packers +3 and the under. Seattle giving 1.5 to Minnesota. That's what we're rolling with there. Why don't we move into a little bit of card market movement? Let's go a little market movement. I know we've been talking all this football, cranking out all these numbers and whatnot. Obviously, one of the big things that we've been watching and talking about this show is movement in the card market. So some of the guys that we just discussed, going to discuss here, we've seen a lot of different movement in the football market right now. The start of the season, you always see some trends start to pan out. You see some guys kind of rising and falling really quick. And one of the guys who's rising at a rapid rate right now, we talked about him early in the first segment, is Kyler Murray. All the percentages that we're going to talk about right now on Kyler and the rest of the players that we mentioned, these are all sales numbers inside the last 7 days. So from last Thursday, inside the last 7 days, these are all the percentages right now, right? So a little more recent, 30-day trends. Obviously, we can talk about later, but right now this is last 7 days of sales data. Kyler Murray's 2019 Silver Prism up 11.5%. His 2019 Contenders rookie ticket autograph up 16.3%. Those are two of the most flagship cards that you can get for a quarterback. Obviously, the Contenders rookie ticket auto, one of the most coveted flagship rookie cards that you can get, particularly for a quarterback. Prism, Silver Prism, obviously Football Prism has exploded the last couple of years. It was always kind of a slept-on Prism product. Prism basketball was really at the forefront there. Football has really closed the gap. So up 11.5% and up 16.3% for Kyler through the first couple weeks of the season. We talked about it in the NFL preseason show. He was a guy that we were looking at. He was a guy we were looking at. He has a low pop. Not a ton of people gave him a lot of love playing in Arizona. And he's got weapons. He's got weapons in Zona. He's competing in a tough division, which kind of earns him a little more respect there. And his prices are trickling up. You can still find his raw silver prisms for under $1,000 right now. I know obviously that's still a good amount of change, but PSA 10s, you're looking. He's still above $2,000 for a PSA 10. You're looking at a double up there. If you find something that gems, or if you pull something that gem 10s, the Contenders rookie ticket, like those have been going up like crazy. You see some of the Contenders optic parallels going up. Those you could have bought his number to 199 red Contenders optic raw. You could have bought it for like $400-500 in the off season. One just sold on eBay a couple days ago for like $770. So there's some serious upswing in his prices right now, and probably not going to see that drop off anytime soon. Who do they have this week? They playing in primetime this week, Arizona.
I'm not positive.
Who do they have? I don't even see them on the schedule. I don't think I have them on the schedule right here. That's weird. Well, regardless.
They have the Rams on October 3rd. I think that's their bye week this week.
No, it's week 3. Buys don't start until next week or week 5.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they have the Jaguars on Sunday.
Well, why don't I see Jacksonville on here? Did it not print? Oh, I think it cut off. I think our printout cut off. That's why. Okay, so Jacksonville, you got to assume they're going to kick the teeth in on the Jags. So should be another good week where he'll post another good line. So Kyler, definitely a guy to watch trickling forward. Next guy that we're watching, Pat's quarterback, Mac Jones. Wasn't the biggest hyped up quarterback to come into the year. Obviously after winning the starting job and Cam Newton gets cut. Looked good towards the end of preseason, had a lot of hype around him. His stuff is up. His Prism draft parallels, particularly, which is a surprise because typically you don't see a lot of Prism draft sell very well. You really don't after a couple of the pro uniform products come out. Granted, not a ton of sales data has been aggregated for him, so this should be taken a little looser, because he was kind of a late addition to the rookie hype party. He wasn't obviously everyone was chasing, Trevor Lawrence, Fields, Lance, all that stuff. His Prism draft color parallels, his numbered stuff, is actually up between 10 to 20% depending on the parallel, and his Crusade, his All-Americans out of Prism draft. His Donruss rookies, this was surprising, are actually down. His base Donruss rookies, and his Donruss Optic Preview rookies are actually down out of the Donruss product. Now, that could be because people are selling off cheaper to get into some of the RPAs out of black, out of Panini Black, out of Certified, out of Gold Standard, things like that. And a lot of that sales data hasn't really aggregated onto Card Ladder, onto Sports Card Investor and whatnot. So that's probably why his Donruss base stuff has taken a hit. People are selling that off quick. To kind of just flip or just get some money quick, kind of cash in on that hype. So that it could be a buying opportunity. You look at something like speaking of Donruss, the super short print downtown parallel. Opening up when those hit eBay, they were going for $2-3 grand. There was one sold under $1,000 for his downtown. Now, depending on how much you believe in Mac Jones, that could be a buying opportunity. That absolutely could. The downtowns are it's a really cool card. It's very sought after for a lot of quarterbacks, and it's a true super short print. It's a true SSP. There are not a lot. I'm not exactly sure how many fall per case, or how many cases it takes to hit one. I don't know if it's a pure case hit or if it's multiple cases you got to go through. But it is a true super short print. that's a card that's gained a lot of popularity. Those novelty kind of really creative design short prints like the Color Blast, the Downtowns, even something like the Marvels, those Marvel inserts out of the basketball product. I think that there could be a buying opportunity. If you believe in Mac long term, I would take a look at that. Those prices are down for those particularly. That could be a buying opportunity for sure. It's a pretty cool looking card too, the New England Downtown of his. Next up, and this is a crazy one. It's wild we're talking about this guy on the podcast. But next one up, Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke, who got the starting job because Fitzmagic just couldn't stay on the field. His 2015 Prism rookies, it's wild. They are surging like crazy right now. Absolutely surging. They're, in some cases, up 500%. His 2015 Prism rookies. This is unequivocally, without a doubt, the easiest must-sell window in card history. If you're holding Taylor Heinicke cards and you can get in the three figures, so you can get hundreds of dollars for them, sell that shit. Sell it now and take that money. Because in August, you could have bought a 2015 Silver Hollow Taylor Heinicke for under $30. This week, they were selling for $150 plus. You could have found a Blue Hollow for $20. Less than 20, 10 to 20 bucks could have gotten you that Blue Hollow a month ago. $250 plus. One sold for like $277. There are rookie autos of his, $200 plus. Base Prism rookie autos, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. People are absolutely out there just buying it as a lottery ticket in case he stretches out, any sort of career at this point, I guess. It's, to me, firm. It's an absolute must sell. It's a must sell. I can't see him being any sort of long-term solution for Washington. Absolute must sell. Get rid of it. If you're holding one, get rid of it. Absolutely wild that he's surging this much in the market. Last guy that I wanted to talk about here is Dak Prescott. His 2016 rookies, you look at his Prism Silver PSA 10 and his Optic Hollow PSA 10. Those are the two, again, another two flagship cards that we're looking at here. His 16 Prism Silver PSA 10 has a pop of about 1,000, up 5 to 7%. Right now, via sales data from eBay, and his Optic Hollow PSA 10 up 10%. So Cowboys have looked decent. They held their own against the Bucs. They've looked decent. They've had a serviceable offense be put onto the field. One thing to note, incredibly low pop report on his 2016 Optic, the Optic Hollow PSA 10s. That has a pop of 103. Super, super low pop. That's going to be a tough card to find. And they are on the rise right now. They're cheaper than the Prisms. Right now, you can get one cheaper than a Prism PSA 10 for... They're the ballpark of the same price, but if you tell me an Optic Hollow 10, a Prism 10, obviously Prism, you're getting the Prism name brand power, but there's over 1,000. There's over 1,000 of them. There's for every one Optic Hollow that's in the marketplace, there's 10 Prisms. You know what I mean? At some point, I think the scarcity of those Optic Hollow PSA 10s, I think there's some value to be had there, and I think there's a little more room to close that gap where, if you buy it, $200 back, $300 back below what a Prism cost is, and then a lot of people aren't seeing those hollows hit the market. Now I think there's more of a chance that those hollows can kind of close that gap on Prism where you make a little more, and then they kind of follow in tandem with each other, and you enjoy the ride there. And I'm bigger fan of getting that low pop card. Low pop cards, supply and demand. Much bigger fan of that. So definitely a guy to watch. Dak Prescott. He's got all the weapons. I mean, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb have looked really good this year. Zeke looks trim. It looks like he had a nice bounce back week last week. So does Tony Pollard. That line always a threat blocking up front. So a lot of weapons there for Dak to kind of utilize. And he plays in Dallas. You know what I mean? If you thrive in Dallas, you got a lot of people around the country that are pulling for you. A lot of Dallas fans, worldwide. So it's a big global brand. So I mean, you're successful with them. You're definitely gonna create some hype for yourself in the marketplace. So that's what we got. Those are the main guys that I'm watching in the market right now that I wanted to highlight. I think we can take it into the home stretch. Mitch, why don't you take us into a quick little buy or sell for the home stretch here?
Oh yeah, why don't we go over to a little bit of buy or sell? Let's kick it. Starting off, Alex Guerreros says Belichick's not evolving with the whole Brady situation, the new Pats offense. What do you think about that?
So, begrudgingly, I'm buying it, man. I'm actually buying it. So, he's talking to a reporter the other day, and he said, one of the reasons that there was a lot of tension with Brady and that, the Pats had to move on from him and they couldn't really work anything out was he said Belichick couldn't evolve to treating Brady like an older quarterback and instead was treating him like another 20-year-old rookie, which he thought, was not the right way. You don't treat a guy who's past 40 years old the same way as you do the rest of the team. And, he went on to say, he's like, I think every other guy on that team would have totally understood that you treat him a little differently, but I can also completely see that that's not the Belichick thing, the Patriot way kind of thing to do. So I don't like it because I'm buying what Guerrero says. I think that was a big factor, and I think Bill was wrong for not caving. I think like any guy who delivers, that many Super Bowls to you, delivers 6 fucking Super Bowls to you over that long of a stretch, 20, 20 years he spent with us, 6 Super Bowls. That's the guy. You break the rules. You break the philosophy for that guy. I don't give a shit. Obviously, he still had something left in the tank because he went out and won a Super Bowl with Tampa the following year, and now he's looking great again this year. He's really
poised to take home a second one.
I mean, so obviously he had some juice left in the tank. He's still got gas in that tank that he's still motoring on. So to think that we didn't kind of make more of an effort to cater to his needs as an aging quarterback. I know that's weird to say, but like it feels really shitty. That's really it. It feels bordering irresponsible. And I'm one of the guys who gives Belichick a lot of leash because he deserves a shit ton of credit too for helping deliver those 6 Super Bowls. So it's really tough to pick sides, but on the surface, if you told me, hey, like Belichick can kind of like cave and like bend a little bit and go soft a little bit for Brady specifically, like, yeah, I think he should have. I definitely think he should have. So I'm gonna buy that. I think the situation could have been handled differently, and I think it's really lame that Brady's not gonna retire in a Patriots uniform. He's not gonna do his whole career as a Patriot. It sucks. It fucking sucks. So, but I'm buying it. I'm buying what he's saying.
As disappointing, I think, as the Ray Bork trade to the Avs. But here's what else I got for you. Justin Fields. He's going to secure his starting spot this weekend for the rest of the year.
Okay, so I'm going to buy that, but I'm only buying it because I just don't believe in Andy Dalton. This is more of a... Oh my God, what's the word? This is more of a referendum on Andy Dalton's ability as a quarterback than it is my belief in Justin Fields. They have Cleveland this week, which Cleveland's a 7-point favorite. Cleveland should win the game, but it's the type of game where Fields can look good against a legitimate opponent. Cleveland's got a solid team. I know they're banged up a bit. Jarvis Landry, I don't think is playing this week. I think it's unlikely that Odell Beckham plays this week. He says he's taking it day by day. So it might be a watered-down Cleveland offense where they're handing the ball off to Nick Chubb 30 times and then trying to just hit Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Baker's just kind of like playing really soft, like maybe Austin Hooper has himself a game or something. But I could see that being a game that Cleveland doesn't blow the doors off of them in, and Fields has multiple opportunities to make some plays and like really win over Chicago. I mean, through 2 games, like I watched some of the Chicago highlights of Andy Dalton. Like, there's nothing there that suggests to me this guy is any kind of a short or long-term solution. He's a placeholder for Fields. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, there was nothing I saw in any Andy Dalton action for the Chicago through the first couple games that makes me say, yeah, hey, this guy can do a thing or two for the Bears. There's nothing. There was nothing there. So, yes, I think Fields secures a starting spot because I think there'll be just enough opportunities in that Cleveland game this weekend that will show, I think it's Matt, what's his face, Nagy, that he can play, he can be successful, and he can be a work in progress for the Bears and possibly a quarterback of the future.
All right, and lastly, we've got the Vikings starting Dalvin Cook despite his ankle injury.
So, I'm selling this, man. I mean, Dalvin Cook is one of the 3 best running backs in the league. I really, really believe that. I think in terms of overall skill level, I think Christian McCaffrey, him, and Alvin Kamara they're the 3 best, and I don't think it's particularly close after that. I think that's your big 3 in terms of overall skill, overall body of work that they can do. And if he's banged up, man, like, you got to think. Let's say they roll him out and he rolls up on that ankle again and has to miss like 3-4 weeks, with a bad ankle sprain or whatever. Or, he, because of the ankle sprain, he favors one side, puts himself in a bad position to get hit. Like, you're putting the linchpin of your offense in harm's way when he's not 100% healthy. And granted, like, this is also going off the reports that he is definitely not healthy, that he is going to play through pain, play hurt. What the severity of it actually is, obviously we don't know. I'm not in the Vikings locker room. I'm not texting Dalvin Cook being like, hey, bro, how's your ankle? Like, how's the swelling doing or any of that shit? So it could be overplayed, but I don't know, man. From what I've heard, it's a fairly significant sprain that he's saying he could play through. So if the Vikings are saying they need him to play through it and he's kind of like a little banged up, I sell that, man. I mean, you saw Madison came in the last year or two. I mean, he's a serviceable back. I mean, he can do some of the things. I mean, he's decent with the football. I know they're playing Seattle, so that's a game you really want to win against a big NFC opponent. I don't like it. I don't really like putting your bell cow linchpin of the offense back in if he's not 100%, man. Especially a team that doesn't have. It's not like they're loaded across the board. You know what I mean? I know you got Thielen and Jefferson on the outside, but it's not like they have this huge wealth of offensive talent that they can kind of roll the dice here. You know what I mean? So, I sell that. I'm not huge on that as a whole. But that should wrap us up.
Yeah,
I think that'll wrap us up.
That takes us home.
Little buy or sell action. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode this week, episode 12. Kept it a little shorter than usual. Just banging out, man. Bang out the overreactions. Bang out some little analysis. We're fired up, man. I'm so glad. Like, the week 3 to week kind of 6 or 7 window of the NFL season is my absolute favorite because every team is sort of developing their storylines for the year. You know what I mean? Like, no one's completely out of the playoffs yet. Even if you're 0-2, there's still like will this 0-2 team bounce back and be relevant? You know, no one's out of it. It's like the Jets haven't gone 0-8 yet. The Jags aren't 1-7 yet. It's like no one's kind of the shit bucket team that everyone's just kicking around. You know what I mean? So I love this window. I love this window of football, especially like leading right up until about Thanksgiving or so. Thanksgiving is when shit kind of starts to you're pretty much half the league's pretty much out of contention.
Things get set in place more around that
right.
time. Yeah.
Right. Fun episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Mitch, anything else to add, buddy?
Nope, that's it. Remember to get your pets spayed and neutered.
Jesus Christ, whatever that means.
It's the Bob Barker outro on
oh my God.
The Price is Right.
What does that mean, dude? Oh my God. We'll see you guys next time on 2A Takes.
See ya.